Hey friends! Remember how we talked about unintentional mistakes or sins in the last chapter? And how God made a way for the whole community to be forgiven? Well, God is so good and thorough that in chapter 5 of Leviticus, He tells us about a few more kinds of unintentional mistakes that people might make, and how they can be made right. First, imagine you see something wrong happen, and you hear a public request for witnesses to come forward and tell what they know. But you stay quiet. If you don't speak up, even if you just didn't want to get involved, that's a mistake you have to fix. Second, what if someone accidentally touches something that is considered unclean? Maybe a dead, unclean animal, or something that makes people impure. They didn't mean to, but if they find out they did and they've become unclean, they need to make things right with God. Third, a person might make a promise quickly, without thinking, and then break it, like saying, "I promise I'll clean my room right now," but then forgetting and running off to play. If it was a serious vow, that's a mistake that brings guilt. When one of these things happens, and the person realizes they've done wrong, they need to confess it. Then, they would bring a female lamb or goat to the priest as a special offering for their sin. But God knows that not everyone is rich. What if a person is poor and can't afford a lamb? God is fair. If they can't bring a lamb, they can bring two little birds, like two turtle doves or two pigeons. One bird is for the sin offering, and the other is a burnt offering. And what if someone is so poor they can't even afford two birds? God's plan is still fair. They can bring a small amount of fine flour for their sin offering. They couldn't add oil or incense, because it wasn't a happy grain offering, but one for a mistake. The priest would take a small amount of the flour for the altar, and the rest would belong to the priest. In all these cases, the priest would do what was needed to make things right with God, and the person would be forgiven. Chapter 5 also talks about another kind of mistake called a guilt offering. This is for when someone messes up with something that belongs to God, the holy things, or if they cheat someone else, even if they didn't mean to. For this, they would bring a perfect male ram as their special offering. And here's the important part: if they cheated someone, they had to give back what they took, plus an extra fifth of its value. They had to make things right with the person they wronged and with God. This shows us that God wants us to be honest, helpful, and fair to everyone, and that He is always ready to forgive us. No matter how big or small the mistake, if we come to Him with an honest and sorry heart. The most important lesson is always that God makes a way for us to be brought back close to Him. That's our story for today, friends. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can continue to learn the Bible with us. God bless.